My dear sister, let me begin where it hurts the most. You were never created to chase what is already written for you. But somewhere along the way, you started running. Running after attention, running after closure, running after someone's consistency, running after reassurance. And the more you ran, the more tired you became. Late at night, when everything becomes quiet, you feel it, that exhaustion. Not just in your body, in your heart. Chasing is loud, it is anxious, it is restless. But the woman who stops chasing does not become empty. She becomes grounded. The moment you step back and say, Ya Allah, if this is for me, let it come with ease. Something shifts inside you. You stop over-texting. You stop over-explaining. You stop over-sacrificing. And suddenly, your energy changes. You become unreachable not because you are arrogant, but because you are aligned. What is written for you will not require you to beg. And what requires begging was never meant to stay. My dear sister, understand something deeply. Chasing often comes from fear. Fear of being left. Fear of not being chosen. Fear that if you do not hold tightly, everything will disappear. But what Allah has decreed for you does not disappear because you became silent. It does not vanish because you stopped trying so hard. It does not collapse because you chose dignity. When you chase, you operate from scarcity. You feel like love is rare, opportunities are limited, and if you lose this one thing, you lose everything. But when you trust Allah, you operate from abundance. You understand that the one who created your heart also created what fulfills it. Stopping the chase does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop forcing. It means you allow what is natural to flow and what is unnatural to fall away. And here is the quiet truth. The moment you detach from desperation, people feel it. The energy shifts. You are no longer easy to manipulate, no longer available for emotional inconsistency, no longer willing to accept crumbs. You become steady, and steadiness is powerful. Unreachable does not mean distant. It means you are no longer accessible to what disrespects your peace. It means your heart is no longer open to confusion. It means your standards are no longer negotiable. And when a woman reaches that place where her trust in Allah becomes stronger than her fear of losing someone, she does not lose. She rises. When you go quiet, you see who was never for you. My dear sister, there is a kind of silence that is not weakness. It is not passive. It is not defeat. It is awareness. When you are constantly speaking, explaining, clarifying, defending, correcting, you are too busy managing reactions to observe reality. But when you go quiet, everything becomes visible. You stop sending the first message. You stop smoothing over every conflict. You stop being the emotional glue that holds everything together. And suddenly, you see who reaches back. You see who notices your absence. You see who steps forward without being asked. You see who only valued you when you were the one trying. Silence is uncomfortable at first, especially for a woman who has been taught that love means effort, sacrifice, and constant giving. But my dear sister, effort should not feel one-sided. Sacrifice should not feel invisible, and giving should not feel draining. When you go quiet, you are not playing games. You are creating space for truth. Allah sometimes pulls you into stillness so you can see clearly without emotional noise. In that stillness, patterns appear. You notice the inconsistency you kept excusing. You notice the disrespect you kept minimizing. You notice the indifference you kept justifying. And it hurts, because you realize you were holding on to potential instead of reality. But this clarity is a mercy. Better a painful truth than a comforting illusion. Going quiet protects your heart from further confusion. It stops you from overinvesting where there is no return. It teaches you to observe before you attach. And here is what is powerful. The woman who goes quiet does not need to expose anyone. Time reveals everything. Your silence becomes a mirror, and not everyone likes what they see in it. So if you find yourself withdrawing, reflecting, speaking less, and observing more, do not panic. You are not becoming distant. You are becoming discerning, and discernment is a form of strength. If Allah removed it, it was never safe for your heart. My dear sister, this lesson is the hardest to accept because sometimes what Allah removes is something you begged for. You prayed tahajjud for it. You cried over it. You imagined your future around it. And when it ends, you feel confused. You think, why would Allah give me hope just to take it away? But listen carefully. Allah does not play with your heart. He protects it, even when you do not understand how. You see the surface. He sees the unseen. You see moments. He sees outcomes. You see affection. He sees intentions. There are conversations you never heard. There are thoughts you never knew. There are futures you never imagined that Allah already protected you from. Sometimes what you call heartbreak is actually rescue. Sometimes what you call rejection is actually redirection. If Allah removes something from your life, it is not because you were unworthy of it. It is because it was not worthy of staying. And detachment begins when you stop fighting divine decisions. It begins when you say, Ya Allah, even if I do not understand this now, I trust that you know what I do not. That trust does not remove the pain immediately. You will still miss them. You will still feel the silence. You will still wonder, what if? But slowly, peace replaces resistance. You realize that holding on to something Allah removed only prolongs your suffering. Letting go becomes an act of faith. And here is something powerful. When you release what Allah took away, you create space for what He is preparing. But if your hands are still clinging to what left, how will you receive what is coming? My dear sister, nothing that is written for you can be taken by someone else. And nothing that is not written for you can be secured by effort alone. If it left with His permission. And if He removed it, trust that it was never safe for your heart in the long run. One day, you will look back and understand, not with anger, but with gratitude. Your value does not decrease when someone walks away. My dear sister, this is where many women quietly break. Someone leaves, and suddenly you begin questioning yourself. Was I too emotional? Was I too available? Was I not attractive enough? Did I say too much? Did I not say enough? And without realizing it, you start rewriting your identity based on someone else's exit. But let me remind you gently, your worth was never tied to who stays. Your value was established long before anyone entered your life. Allah created you with honor. He gave you a soul, intellect, modesty, emotion, compassion. He shaped you with care. That honor does not shrink because someone failed to recognize it. When someone walks away, it does not mean you are insufficient. Sometimes it means the role they were meant to play in your life has ended. We make a mistake when we interpret departure as proof of our inadequacy. Not every ending is a reflection of your flaws. Sometimes it is simply the completion of a lesson. And here is something important. People leave for many reasons: immaturity, fear, lack of readiness, different priorities, hidden intentions. Their departure says more about their capacity than your value. But when your heart is attached, it feels personal. You think, if I had been better, they would have stayed. My dear sister, the right person does not require you to erase yourself to be loved. You do not reduce your standards to be chosen. You do not silence your voice to avoid conflict. You do not accept inconsistency to avoid loneliness. Detachment teaches you to separate your identity from someone's behavior. If they leave, let them leave with your dignity intact. Do not beg for someone to see what they already overlooked. Do not chase someone who chose distance. The woman who understands her value does not collapse when someone exits her life. She grieves, she reflects, she heals. But she does not shrink, because she knows something deeper. What Allah honors cannot be dishonored by people. And if someone walks away from what Allah gifted them in you, that is their loss, not your deficiency. Peace is more powerful than proving your point. My dear sister, There is a temptation that keeps many women emotionally trapped: the need to be understood. You replay conversations in your mind. You imagine what you should have said. You wish you could correct the false narrative about you. You want them to finally see your perspective. But not every misunderstanding needs resolution. Sometimes the cost of proving your point is your inner peace. You can win an argument and still lose your tranquility. You can explain yourself perfectly and still be misinterpreted. You can defend your intentions and still be doubted. At some point, maturity whispers something powerful: let it go. The woman who detaches quietly does not chase validation. She does not gather evidence to prove her goodness. She does not fight for every perception. She chooses calm over chaos. And that choice requires strength. Because walking away from conflict is harder than engaging in it. Remaining silent when you could defend yourself requires self-control. But Islam teaches us something profound. The strong one is not the one who overpowers others. The strong one is the one who controls herself when she is angry. Peace is not passive, it is intentional. When you stop reacting to every message, every tone shift, every indirect comment, you protect your heart. You begin to understand that your energy is limited. Not everyone deserves access to it. Not every debate deserves your participation. Sometimes Allah is elevating you by removing you from unnecessary battles. Detachment allows you to say, I do not need to be right. I need to be at peace. And peace is powerful, because when your heart is calm, your decisions are clearer. When your mind is steady, your faith is stronger. When your emotions are regulated, your dignity remains intact. The woman who chooses peace over proving a point does not lose. She gains stability. She gains self-respect. She gains alignment with Allah. And that alignment will always bring more victory than any argument ever could. The woman who trusts Allah cannot be replaced. My dear sister, let us speak about something that quietly disturbs the heart: the fear of being replaced. You may not say it out loud, but it sits there. What if he forgets me? What if they find someone better? What if I become irrelevant? What if everything I gave meant nothing? These thoughts can consume you, especially at night when your mind is loud and the world is silent. But listen to me carefully. When you truly trust Allah, you understand something liberating. You are not competing with anyone. What is written for you was written before you were born. Your risk, your relationships, your marriage, your opportunities, all of it was decreed with precision. No one can step into a space Allah specifically designed for you, and no one can remove you from a position Allah intends you to occupy. Replacement only exists where there was no divine alignment to begin with. If someone leaves and quickly finds someone else, do not interpret that as proof that you are not enough. Sometimes it simply means they were not meant to be your forever. Allah does not design destinies based on comparison. He does not distribute love based on competition. He does not replace sincere hearts with duplicates. The one who trusts Allah stops measuring her worth against other women. She stops analyzing who is prettier, smarter, calmer, more patient. She understands that what is meant for her will not be diverted by someone else's qualities. Your uniqueness is not accidental. Your personality, your softness, your strength, your flaws, your growth, all of it is part of your divine design. If someone fails to value that design, it does not mean it was poorly created. It means it was poorly appreciated. And appreciation cannot be forced. My dear sister, trusting Allah with the outcome changes your posture. You no longer cling to people out of fear. You no longer tolerate inconsistency to avoid being replaced. You no longer overextend yourself to secure a place that was already uncertain. You become steady. You understand that if Allah wants something for you, no one can block it. And if He removes something, no amount of attachment can keep it. This trust does not make you careless. It makes you calm. It does not make you indifferent. It makes you secure. When your heart is anchored in Allah, you do not panic over temporary shifts. You do not spiral over someone's attention moving elsewhere. You know your Lord is the one who turns hearts, and He does not forget the sincere. The woman who trusts Allah cannot be replaced because her value does not depend on human approval. Her security does not depend on someone staying. Her identity does not collapse when someone chooses differently. She understands that her destiny is not fragile. It is protected. And when you reach that level of tawakkul, when your fear of losing people becomes smaller than your trust in Allah, you become untouchable, not by pride, but by peace. And that peace is more powerful than any temporary attachment could ever be. Silent growth creates undeniable elevation. My dear sister, not every transformation needs an announcement. Some of the most powerful changes in your life will happen quietly, so quietly that even the people closest to you will not notice at first. You will stop reacting the way you used to. You will stop explaining yourself unnecessarily. You will stop giving access to your heart so easily. And no one will see the internal work behind it. They will only see the calm, but they will not see the nights you cried and chose sabr instead of revenge. They will not see the du'as whispered in darkness. They will not see the discipline it took to stay silent when you could have exposed everything. Silent growth is heavy. It requires restraint. It requires patience. It requires deep trust. In a world that celebrates loud success and visible validation, growing in silence feels lonely. You will sometimes wonder, does anyone see how much I've changed? And the answer is yes. Allah sees. He sees the moment you controlled your anger. He sees the message you typed and deleted. He sees the tears you hid from everyone else. He sees the effort you put into improving yourself instead of blaming others. And elevation does not always come immediately. First comes purification. Before Allah raises you publicly, He refines you privately. He strengthens your character before strengthening your position. He builds your patience before expanding your platform. He deepens your faith before widening your doors. This is why silent growth feels slow. You think nothing is happening, but internally, everything is shifting. Your standards are rising. Your tolerance for disrespect is lowering. Your attachment to people is weakening. Your attachment to Allah is strengthening. And this shift changes your entire life. One day, without even trying, you will notice something different. You are no longer easily shaken. You are no longer desperate for attention. You are no longer afraid of being alone. There is a quiet stability in you. People will sense it. They will notice that you do not chase arguments. You do not compete for validation. You do not beg for consistency. They may not know why, but you will, because you chose to grow when it would have been easier to react. You chose discipline over drama. You chose prayer over panic. You chose dignity over desperation. And elevation built through silence cannot be undone by noise. My dear sister, the woman who detaches quietly does not disappear. She evolves. She becomes so rooted in her faith, so steady in her emotions, so secure in her worth, that nothing temporary can shake her. And when Allah decides it is time, He will reveal her growth in ways she never expected, not to prove anything, not to compete with anyone, but to honor the patience she showed when no one was watching. So if you are in a season of silence, do not fear it. You are not being forgotten. You are being prepared. And preparation in private always leads to elevation in public. Trust the quiet work, because the woman who grows in silence rises in strength that no one can take away. My dear sister, let me leave you with something that you must carry in your heart. Silent growth is not glamorous. It does not receive applause. It does not trend. It does not get celebrated in group chats. Most of the time, it feels invisible. You are changing, but no one congratulates you. You are healing, but no one sees the scars closing. You are becoming stronger, but no one notices the discipline behind it. And sometimes that feels unfair. You think, after everything I endured, why does no one see how much I've grown? But elevation from Allah is not designed for public performance. It is designed for internal stability. If Allah had revealed your strength too early, you might have relied on praise instead of faith. If He had exposed your growth too soon, you might have tied it to people instead of Him. So He keeps you in the quiet. He strengthens you where no one can interfere. He rebuilds your confidence without external validation. He teaches you to walk alone without feeling abandoned. And slowly, something shifts. You begin to enjoy your own company. You begin to trust your own judgment. You begin to rely on Allah more than you rely on anyone else. And this is where true elevation begins. Not when people admire you, but when you no longer need them to. My dear sister, the woman who detaches quietly does not become cold. She becomes wise. She understands that attachment to people is temporary, but attachment to Allah is permanent. She understands that chasing approval weakens the heart, but seeking Allah strengthens it. She understands that silence can be louder than confrontation. And when Allah finally opens the next door for her, whether it is a better relationship, a peaceful marriage, a new opportunity, or simply inner calm, she enters it differently. Not desperate, not insecure, not afraid of being replaced, but steady, because now her identity is anchored in something unshakable. If someone leaves, she remains whole. If someone stays, she remains balanced. If something is delayed, she remains patient. That is the victory. Not getting everything you wanted, but becoming someone who is no longer broken by what leaves. My dear sister, if you are in this season, this quiet, reflective, detached space, do not rush out of it. Do not run back to noise just because silence feels uncomfortable. Allah may be building you into a woman who cannot be shaken. And when that construction is complete, you will look back and realize the quiet was not emptiness, it was preparation. The detachment was not loss, it was protection. And the silence was not neglect, it was elevation. Trust the process, because the woman who detaches quietly always rises in a way that cannot be undone.